I think it's clear to say that Microsoft has had problems getting video games out. Obviously, things like Halo having issues to this day is continuing to be a problem for Microsoft, and people are kind of looking down on Microsoft for those reasons, and maybe deservedly so. I mean, let's be honest, they dropped the ball, and from the things that we're starting to hear, this game didn't even really start production until 2018, 2019, which is a stark contrast to what we've seen before. Plus, we started seeing, I think, a trailer for it in 2019, so that had to be a lie. So obviously, there are some instances where Microsoft are correctly faulted with a lot of these things. And for me personally, I look at it as something that Microsoft can learn from and something that Microsoft can grow and move on from. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people out there, PlayStation fans mostly, who are going to hold this stuff against Microsoft. But there's also good news. Like, people don't want to hear the good news. I get it that a company maybe wouldn't be like, hey, we're having all kinds of problems with this game. Woo! They're not going to do that, right? It's not going to happen. But when companies come straight out and say, hey, there's no issue here, our games are doing fine, I think that people kind of maybe have to understand that maybe that's actually the case. Now, Matt Booty was recently talking about an instance where there's a big problem where people think that, Perfect Dark, for instance, is having, major issues or whatever. And there were some people that left. But Matt Booty was making a very good point when he was talking about during a Q&A at PAX over the weekend. He was asked whether the large number of game delays over the past couple of years could be blamed on the pandemic mostly or something else. And he replied that the pandemic clearly played a part in it. There are other aspects of modern game development that make delays more likely. These included the difficulties in adapting to a new generation of hardware, the challenges of QA testing more complex game, and the fact that so many big games nowadays are made with multiple studios. Now think about this for a second. We're all used to things being a certain way. Like for me, one of my favorite generations was the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. One of the main reasons was because it lasted a long time, so long that we got, 4 Gears games, 3 Uncharted games, the best Call of Duty games. We got 3 Dead Space games. It was just like amazing the amount of games and the content that we got. And one of the reasons why we got so many games is because developers knew the hardware and was easy enough to kind of go out there and, do these games. While they might be similar, they were obviously still newer games. So yeah, that's really cool when you see that. Now, when it comes to the situation with Perfect Dark, a lot of people wanted to jump on the negative and say, it's really bad. But anyway, what Booty said was how we make games is evolving. The idea of a single team under one roof doesn't really happen that often anymore. I'll use an example. Our Perfect Dark team down in Santa Monica, the Initiative. So we just did this big partnership with Crystal Dynamics. This must mean there's a problem or something. He says it's quite the opposite, right? You've got this veteran team at Crystal Dynamics, a big AAA team with over 100 people that becomes available. Of course we want to work with them, particularly if they made a game like that before. And that's pretty much how we've done an awful lot of work. If you think about Age of Empires 4, which launched last fall, that was made in partnership with Relic Studios up in Vancouver. A great partnership. And even something like Flight Simulator, we worked with a studio in France called Asobo. And that kind of development, when you're working out with people like Certain Affinity, Iron Galaxy, Blackbird, and all those studios are so key to the products that we make. So, he's very much making a strong case for a situation where he's saying, hey, you know what? These studios aren't making games alone anymore. And think about this. Call of Duty is made with multiple studios. Anything Ubisoft is made with multiple studios, And I think that's probably how the future is going to be. I'm going to get more into this, but I want you guys to like the video because I'm trying to get 100 likes on each of the videos. It's a small goal, but a goal nonetheless, and I'd be much appreciated. So let's go and get started. It's going to be a fun video. So I never was one to really push the panic button when it comes to some of these things, but hearing Matt Booty talk about this stuff, he didn't shy away from any of it, which I think is very important to kind of look at as well. He says that's how we've done a lot of work, and that kind of development, co-development, when you're working out with people like Certain Affinity and these other studios, that adds some complexity. If you're one of those studios has a problem, it then impacts the schedule. So the days are gone when you can just sort of go, everybody round up the team in the cafeteria. I want to tell everybody to work harder this Wednesday. That's long gone. It's gotten a lot more complicated than that. Now, I know some of you, if you're a PlayStation fan, you might go, oh, well, that's not what they do, blah, blah, blah. Listen, that's what PlayStation does. I believe it was something like 17 studios worked on The Last of Us Part 2 with, Naughty Dog. So there's always these outsourced studios and things like that. And that's important to get those done because you need so many people working on it. It's just like when you look at Marvel, right, and they put out these shows and these movies, they're hiring all these effects teams and things like that to try to get the most out of it. So Xbox signed up Marvel and Avengers Tomb Raider developer Crystal Dynamics in September of 21 to help its Perfect Dark reboot. At the time, the initiative tweeted, "Perfect Dark update. We're partnering with Crystal Dynamics, the world-class team behind character-driven games such as Tomb Raider, to bring this first-person spy thriller to a new generation." However, VGC reported that in March, the initiative had seen fast and furious wave of senior departures in the past 12 months. As much as half of the core development team known to be working on the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot quit the company during the last year. At the time, the initiative's management told VGC it was confident in the team it had in place and new talent joined, and pointed to industry-wide staffing challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, senior current and former initiatives developers VGC spoke to attributed the wave of departures to frustration among senior talent over the direction of the project set down by the studio's head Daryl Gallagher and the game director Daniel Newberger, who himself left the company this year. So basically, one of the things that we had heard that was happening was the fact that, to be quite honest, it wasn't really one of the things where a lot of people had input, which, being able to put input into something I think is smart, but I also think that you have to be able to have a situation where you have a clear vision. So I understand why possibly this input situation isn't as dire, or people would leave, maybe they thought that they would completely have all this input and things like that, and then the fact that they don't, I think that leads credence to why some people would leave. And it just kind of is what it is. I find it to be a very fascinating thing, and for me personally, it matches up with what we've seen. So yeah, that's exactly something that's going to continue to happen. And when you consider it, again, clearly having Crystal Dynamics work on it, speaking about them saying that in the modern age, work on these games is much more complex. I think that really is just something that is honestly happening in the world right now. Like Halo was worked on by a bunch of people. Maybe that's not the best the best thing to talk about, because obviously, it's a situation where that kind of dropped the ball. But, even on the Sony side, you have support studios and things like that offering help, and that's going to continue to be the way that these things happen. So, yeah, super interesting to see him talk about this and to go out there and, just be honest about it. I think that's the most important thing. So, yeah, love to see this, and I can't wait to see more on what Perfect Dark is like, and also some of these other games. I think that it's really important to get these games out, and I think that obviously we're living in a day and age, pandemic and stuff like that, so we're going to continue to see these companies push and push and push. But yeah, it is kind of sad at the same time that we're out of the day and age where we're going to see a studio go out there and make a rush for getting something done. I just don't think that it makes sense, and we probably won't see that very much anymore. So with that being said, I want to take a minute to say I thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I think the world of you. Please like the video if you have watched it and enjoyed it. It helps things to keep coming back, and it just makes things super exciting to know that people are still watching and things like that. So I'm looking to get 100 likes on each of the videos. It means a lot to me. Rack them up fact him up, crap gamer him up. It really does mean a lot. Crap gamer out.